This conference will now be recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so in case if you haven't installed the software, the other option that you have is you can use the cloud URL by going through this pdn.pega.com. So once you go through the pdn.pega.com, you need to register for it. So you need to sign up for it. I have shared one document for you to how to register for this. So you can register using your Gmail account or any of your organization. So it is not a problem. You can register with any of the accounts. So once you register for it, so there's a document which I shared is alternative for Pega software. If you are not able to install the software due to various reasons, then you can use this cloud instance URL.
So where did you share this?
Gayatri, I haven't shared you, but the rest of the folks I have shared. You can just ping your email ID in the chat. I will share you. Yesterday I have given the access for the drive too
Okay.
for the rest of all the people. I didn't have your email ID, so didn't do that.
Yeah, I'll send it to you now.
Okay, so here you need to go to this website where you can sign up, and then after that you have to provide your email account and the rest of the details, and you can give some organization if in case you're not working anywhere. So here you will get an activation email to your email account which is registered. So after you activate it, you can go to this training. You can see here we have different tabs: launchpad, knowledge based training. So click on the training and go to browse library and search for the course System Architect Essentials. So this is a beginner's course. This is all right. So that is a beginner's course where we need to go to the System Architect Essentials, and here you will find many results, out of which you will go for Pega Platform 8. So go to this Pega Platform 8, just click on it and click on Start Learning here. Okay, so that you see the course contents with the topics. So there are total 32 topics in it, and you can go to the exercise. Wherever you see the exercise, just click on that link so that it opens an exercise system link. And once you click on that, so you will get a pop-up window where you can see the open exercise system link. So on click of it, you will see the so on click of it, you will see the window where you can log into it. Okay, so you will get the Pega URL directly open in any of the browsers. All right, so you need to log into it. So you can check the credentials. By default, these are given the exercise system. So at the topic exercise itself, here itself, as in when you open it, so you will see the user ID and the password to log in. Okay, so you can use that user ID and password to log into that cloud instance. Okay, so here there is something called user.reserve.it and the password is rules. So you can log in with this user ID and the password. And here, when you once you log in, you will see this window. So there is already one application created for us in this. So we are not supposed to create a new application, but we can do the rest of the things. Okay, so here you will see the window which is called as Pega Express. Okay, so now coming to this, so yesterday once you log in with the administrator at pega.com, we got a portal which is called as Designer Studio. So Designer Studio is the space where the developers are going to work developing the applications. Okay, and the developers can use even this another portal called Pega Express Studio. So Express Studio is the developers portal which is given in right from starting from 7.3 version. So both of these two are the one which we use it for development purpose itself. Okay, so Pega Express is the new one which was introduced to do the things in a quicker way. So whatever the development that we do in the designer studio, it is at a very low level. Pega Express is a quicker way of implementing the things. Okay, so in general, we use the designer studio as a enterprise applications. When we develop it, we use only the designer studio. Even though it was introduced in 7.3 version, not everything can be done in the Pega Express studio. Okay, of course we are familiar with the options that are there in the designer studio. We have a complete uh, structured way in the designer studio. Okay, so that is the reason this can be utilized. So here, if you use the Pega Express Studio, the end user portals where you actually see the space where we are going to test it. So that space which is called as end user portal and the development, both are given in the same place. Okay, so Pega Express Studio is a combination of development plus testing portal. Okay, so development as well as testing both can be done in the same space itself. Okay, so in the Pega Express Studio, if you see the screenshot here, so here you can see on the top, this is a Pega Express. Okay, in order to switch to the designer studio, you will just click on this arrow at the bottom, which is highlighted in the red color. So if you click on it, it will go to the Pega designer mode. Okay, so designer studio mode. So basically the Pega Express has the options given on the left hand side, on the top, on the bottom. Those are related to the, so if you see the gray color highlight one, so this is something development related, which is white color highlight one. This is a space given for the end users one. Okay, so end users, how they are going to use the system, you can see in the same space here itself. Okay, so if you can switch to the designer studio, you will go back to the screen that we have shown yesterday, that we have seen yesterday. Okay, so here you have additional options given on the top, which is laptop, tablet and mobile. So once you do the development, you can even check how it appears in the tablet, how it appears in the laptop, and how it appears in the mobile devices. So in this way, whatever the development that we do it, we can test it in different devices in the Express Studio. But this option is not available in the Designer Studio. All right. So this way, the Pega Express is the quicker way of doing the things, whatever we do the development in the Designer Studio. Okay. So at the end of the day, both are going in the same application. So whatever the development that we do, either in the Express or in the Designer Studio, both are reflecting on the same application itself. All right. So you can switch back and forth through Designer Studio versus Pega Express Studio. Now coming back to the Pega 8 version. So in Pega 8.x version, you will see something called as App Studio. Okay, and there is another one called Dev Studio. So Dev Studio is a replica of Designer Studio. So whatever we have in Pega 7.3 and 7.4 or 7 version, so completely we have the Designer Studio available. Pega Express Studio was introduced in Pega 7.3 version. So this Pega Express mode, this Pega Express Studio is given in 7.3 version. All right. So basically, this Pega Express, whatever we have it, it is the replica of the App Studio. Okay. So in 7.3 to version onwards, whatever we have the Pega Express, this was renamed to App Studio. Okay. So from Pega Express, it is renamed to App Studio, and the Dev Studio is renamed from Designer Studio. Okay, so you will see this App Studio and Dev Studio in the Pega 8 version. Okay, so in Pega 8 version, you will see some options available on the top here. Okay, so there is some option which is available. Just need to click on it, where you can see a drop down kind of options where you have App Studio and Dev Studio. Okay, so if you click on Dev Studio, it will go to the Designer Studio. So however we discuss the options, so that is the same replica of the Designer Studio. If you are there in the App Studio, this remains as the Express Studio. All right, so this way we have a different type of development portals given, where we are going to utilize based on the different versions that we are going to use. All right, so here Pega 8.x version, in addition to App Studio and Dev Studio, there is another option given which is called as Admin Studio. Okay, so there is, it's not studio basically, it's a portal, the space. Okay, so where the administration related activities are getting performed in this place. Okay, so in this portal is explicitly only for the administration activities that we do it. But there is no portal in Pega 7 version. It is straight away given as a separate option, which is having different options where we can launch it. All right. So that administration activities are given in a separate URL based. All right. So this is one of the key difference between these two. And here, if you go to the options of, let's log into the, okay. So once you log in, you will see the name of the application. So here you can see the name of the application, which is Pega Rules. So by default, when we log in with the credentials administrator at pega.com and password as install, so you will see the application here as Pega Rules. So this Pega Rules is a default application. All right. So basically, whenever we log in with a user ID, you will have access to an application. So to which application you are accessed for. So here you are given the access for Pega rules. So Pega rules is the default application. So in order to start our application development, we are going to use this Pega rules default application. So why we need to use this Pega rules default application is, so we have certain packages, certain rules. So basically, whatever we do the development in Pega, it is in the form of rules. So every logic that we write, it is in a rule. So we need to know how to configure a rule. So basically there are different type of rules provided. We should be knowing about what does the rule does for us, why the rule it is. Okay. So you need to know every rule that we discuss. These two questions you need to by heart. So why the rule is used and how to configure the rule. So these two questions you need to know for every rule that we are going to implement. Okay. So if every rule will have a certain purpose.
These rules are available in Express also or not?
Yeah, so Pega Express is also going to generate the rules in the background, but not every option that you see on the Designer Studio it's available, because Pega Express is something which was there in under construction. I'm not aware of Pega 8 how they are trying to inculcate, but in general, not every option is available in Pega Express, because that is something which even a non-technical person can also do it. So here, if you
Okay.
want to switch to the express mode, you will go to this. So, but even if you go to the switch express mode, so the express mode options that are available, those are not completely developer friendly. Those are end user friendly.
Okay. Hello.
Hey, hi guys. Ravi went offline. Be online. I'm checking with him.
Yeah. Am I audible now?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, fine. Okay. So basically that in order to know how the basic rules, how the rules will interact with another rule forms, then we need to work on the designer studio rather than going with the Pega Express. So this Pega Express will give a high level insight but not at a low level insight. So that is the reason as a developer it's always the good to know about how the rules will talk to each other and how we are going as a developer. Definitely as industry is also following the Pega Designer Studio, not in the Pega Express mode. Even if you go tomorrow in the any of the organization, you will see only the Designer Studio. No, now none of the developers will work on the Pega Express. So for now, you just try to understand this Designer Studio. If you understand Designer Studio, this is easy to understand. All right. So there's only the options difference where you can see here and there the options varies. So here you can see whatever the development that we do, we can test it in the different devices here. So let's say if I have to see the space for the end customers given. So this is a space where the end customers are going to use it. So end customers who are going to use the application, they will see the portal called as case manager portal, or this can be case worker portal. Okay, so there's a separate space given for the end users, separate space given for the developers. So whatever we discussed so far, so this is the space for the developers. So here we have developers given the space such as Designer Studio or Pega Express Studio, which is a bit it's under construction, or we can say low at a high level design and development. And there is App Studio, Dev Studio, and Pega 8 version, which was just a renaming. Okay, so these are the portals given for the developers. Whereas if you see the end users or end customers who are actually going to use the portals for testing or for doing the daily activities, they are going to use the portal something like case manager. Okay, or you can say case worker. Okay, so here basically the portal that you see here, this is a space where we are given for the customers who are going to use it. So on the tab device, you will see how this look and feel it is. So you can see a different type of iPad devices available to test. Okay, so just select appropriate tab device and how it appears in the tab you can see here. Similarly, if you go to the mobile, it will adjust the space according to the mobile, and how this look and feel in the mobile you can see here itself. All right. So this way, whatever the development of an application we do, we can test it in various devices as well. All right. And in order to switch back to the Designer Studio, you will just click on this double arrow. Okay. So that it switches back to the Designer Studio. Okay, so from the designer studio, from the developers portal, in order to launch a space where end customers how they verify the application is, so they have a different portal given, and those portals can be accessed via the launch option on the top. So you have launch web interface option here. So if you click on it, you will see a different portals available which can be tested by the testers. So here we are going to provide the access for the space case manager portal, which is a separate portal where the end customers are going to verify. So it launched in a new window. Yeah. Window where actually the end customers who are going to do the business operations, they are going to utilize this space. Okay, so end customers, whoever uses the BPM software or uses this Pega for application, then definitely they will have their own user ID and password. It's not like they are going to use the same user ID and password for everyone. So every user will have a user ID and password to log in, and they have a certain configuration where they can access the application. So what kind of access they are given for that application usage, so those are something we have to define it. All right, so before going into technical, so first we'll understand the basics of the BPM software to use. So here the space that you see here, this is called as a case manager portal, and the person who logged in, you can see his name on the top here, and here there's a menu options given where you can see the dashboard, my work list, my cases and all. So basically dashboard will give us the total summary of the application. So as a manager who logs in, so they can see the entire picture. It could be in a representation of certain charts where they can get the entire representation of how the application is, how my team is performing. So here the dashboard will give the entire summary of the application where you can see on the right side that list of team members and few other options are given here. Okay, so you can customize these things. So basically this is coming by default from Pega. We have an option to customize these things as well. All right, so here going to the my work list. So under my work list, you will see the list of tasks which has to be accomplished by the logged in user. So the person who logged in, whatever the tasks which are assigned to him, he will see under the my work list. Okay. So as a recruiter, let's say the same business operation that we discussed yesterday. So as a HR recruitment project, HR recruitment application. So let's say as a HR recruitment operations, so initially recruiter will log in. He will see a space where he will start creating a case. Okay. So as part of creating a case, he will capture that information of a candidate to be hired, and he will process that information. So he initially someone has to take care of the case creation part. So someone has to initiate it. So the person who is initiated in this particular application is the recruiter. So recruiter is the person who is going to initiate the business operation. And once he starts, he will transfer the things to the each and every actor who is involved in this particular application. Okay, so the task which is assigned to a single actor is the one which is available and under the work list. So under the work list, we'll see the options, we'll see the tasks which are given, which are assigned to the person. He is the author to do the task. Okay, so the case is basically a collection of tasks. So entire case, if you see, we have different tasks available. So initially, the recruiter may have certain tasks to capture the information, capture the basic details, or capture the employee details. So everything is basically a task. Okay, so once he completes his tasks, then he will transfer to the second person. So basically, the case is only one. The case ID is always unique. Okay, but the case is going to have a participants. So there are multiple participants who are involved in this case. Okay, so here the only participant who does not have a user ID and password is the employee, the candidate whom we are going to hire. Okay, so this participant is not having the user ID and password, but the rest of the participants that you see, these all participants has the user ID and password to log in, because they are going to work upon this particular case. So whoever works upon the case, they will have their own user IDs and password. Okay, the target of this business operation is to hire a candidate. All right, so as part of hiring a candidate, you may have a different set of actors engaged on a platform. Okay, so here let's say there is a case given here by default for this administration default user ID and password. There's a default case which is already defined in the system. So when we define our own application, we will see the new cases, the new business operations as per our application. Okay, so there's something called as general task here. So if you click on this general task, you start creating a new case. Okay, so as part of creating a case, you may take certain information, you may take certain basic details. So basically, once in order to start or initiate a case, you will capture certain inputs from the user. Okay, so let's say this is a general task, and as part of general task creation, it may take certain input from us before creating a case. Okay, so here you can see this is a new general task where the work in progress is the expected input parameter. This is something which we can update as per our business operation. In our business operation, if you require the basic details of an employee name, employee experience, and all those stuff, we are going to take that inputs here before we start creating a case. All right, so in this general task, it is expecting to have certain mandatory fields which is having asterisk here. Okay, so this is already predefined case. This is already predefined case which are by default coming from Pega. So we are going to understand how the cases are organized by default. So we are just focused on the business, how to implement the business, but rather than how to organize the business. The organizing part, Pega will take care of. The Pega software will take care of how to organize the business. We just need to focus on how the business should be implemented. All right. So here, let's take this general task of just click on create here. Okay. So once you create a case, you will see the case ID, which is unique. Okay. So unique identity given for every case. So as and when we create a new case, every case will have a unique identity, which you can see here, the case ID W-36. So this is basically a case ID. Whenever we create a new case, it will increment the case ID to next integer. So basically, these case IDs are always the unique. So every case that we create, it has a unique set of information. It should be differentiated from the other case. Okay, so already if the case is available, if the case is already having it, so you are going to differentiate the case to the other case with this case ID itself. And for every case, you will have a status as well. So you can see here the status is the one which tells us where we are. Okay, so here the status is going to can be updated based on the tasks that we are performing in the complete case life cycle. So in this case life cycle, if you see, we may be in the interview stage, let's assume. Then in that case, the status says that pending interviews. Okay. Similarly, if we move to the manager approvals, then the case status tells us that this is pending manager approval or pending approvals. So in that way, the status will give us the where exactly the particular case it is. Okay, so this case, while it is navigating from one person to another person, we need to update the status so that we will get the understanding of where the case it is currently. Okay, so here the status tells us where are we. Okay, so this status is the one which we updated. So basically, if you see the status as resolved, that is the end of the life cycle. Okay, so this is basically the general task case which you see here. This is basically a single step operation. Okay, and basically every task which is given for a user is called as a assignment. Okay, so assignment is the one which is given for to a particular user. So here the terminology that we use for a task is assignment. So assignment is nothing but a task given to a user to accomplish. Okay, so every case may have multiple assignments, multiple tasks to perform. So here if you see, this general task is having certain assignment. So this is basically an assignment to be accomplished. Okay, so here this is a assignment which has to be accomplished by a user. Okay, so now if I close this W-36 assignment, where it is, if I straight away here, there should be some tracking where it should be assigned to a certain individual. So if you go to this my work list and refresh this list, you will see this task appears under the work list. Okay, so because this is something which is assigned to the administrator. Okay, in the similar way you can assign back to someone else as well. So if I open this case, you will see the same window which you need to perform. Okay, so here if you see, if you click on other actions, you will see few other options available by default which are arranged by Pega. So these options are given by Pega where we can perform on assignment. Okay, so on this specific assignment we can do certain operations that you can see under the other actions. Yeah, so you can see a different set of options which are given here. So already these are some of the predefined actions, pre-built actions which are by default software is providing, Pega software is providing. Okay, so here you can say transfer assignment. If I click on transfer assignment, I can transfer this particular assignment to an individual. So here you can see the operator. So operator is nothing but the user who has to be assigned this. So you can see the list of user IDs which are already available in the system. So let's say if I transfer this to Adam Garcia. So what happens is this assignment which is assigned to administrator, now it will move to this person, Adam Garcia. So on his work list, this assignment appears. Okay, and it disappears from my work list. Okay, so here if I click on submit, you are transferring this particular task to someone else. So say like the recruiter is going for leave and he whatever the work which is assigned to him, he has to transfer to some other recruiter. So this way he will transfer the list of tasks which are assigned to him to another recruiter. Okay, in the similar way, wherever the actors who are engaged in spite of his absence, then in that case you can transfer to someone else. So now if you go to this work list, you won't see any items available because this W-36 is transferred to that person. Okay, so this way it disappears from here. All right, but whereas if you go to this my cases here, this W-36 still appears under my cases list. Though the task which is assigned, the assignment which is given to the other user, this W-36 still appears under the my cases. The reason is here the person who initiated it, the person who initiated is he has the authorization to view where exactly the case it is. So someone has to follow up, right? So here, let's say the recruiter called you for hiring for one of the job. So basically, the person who called us for the recruitment purpose. So here, the case assignments, whatever the assignment, wherever it is, but the person who has to communicate is only one. So the person who initiated it, that should be there for tracking purpose. So today, when I called him and asked him where exactly my status is, it could be in the pending interview or it could be in the pending manager approval, someone who has approvals. So he has to do the follow up on that particular item. Okay, so here once he will do the follow up, so here he can see the status of it. So by looking at the status, he can inform us that your currently profile is in the with him. Okay, so that is the reason, yeah, we are just I need to just follow up with him. So that way he can see the list of cases which he is responsible to perform. Okay, so there should be a person who has to take care of the cases which are initiated, and these cases which are initiated by the person, so that will be available under the my cases. So all the cases which are available, which are created, so those appears under the my cases. Clear? You get to know the difference between the case and the assignment. Okay, so basically the power is going on and off. I hope you can hear me now.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Yeah, so basically, understand the difference between the case and the assignment. So, case is basically the high level path where you will define the, you may have a collection of assignments to do in a case. So, case is basically the end to end operation till your business target is achieved. But whereas the assignment is only a single task in it, and that task can be accomplished by a individual. Okay, so there could be a multiple tasks to be performed in order to fulfill the entire case life cycle. All right, so let's say if I complete it, if I start creating a case, another case this is. So let's create another task here, another case here, which you see W-37 as a new case ID which is given, and this has a status as open. Okay, so straight away I'm going to resolve it. I will give the certain comments here. So if in case you have the next case lifecycle defined, then in that case it will move to that particular user accordingly. But this general task is only single task assignment. where it has only one single operation. Okay, so here it is went into the status as completed. So whenever the status is completed, it is no more you are going to work upon it. So status, once it is done, the status is closed. Okay, so basically the case is completed. So there is nothing beyond it is after completed. So let's say if the while hiring a candidate, if the candidate is hired, what else you will do after this? Okay, so this target of this case lifecycle ends with the status as resolved. Okay, so as and when the status says resolved, it is the end of this case lifecycle. Okay, similarly, you may have a different statuses. Say like the candidate was rejected here. Then what happens? It moves into the status called as resolved rejected. Okay, the status may be having a rejected status. All right. So directly, whenever it is going to jump to a particular phase where it is going to be the end of the case life cycle, that is something will have a endpoint for it. So the case is not going to reopen. So let's say if the case is cancelled, basically the information which is provided by the user is not appropriate, not accurate, then it may be cancelled. Okay, so then in that case, the case might be closed with a status as cancelled due to various reasons. Okay, so once it is cancelled, you may want to reopen it again. So here you will see certain options that are available to reopen and all. Okay, so if you click on reopen, again it reopens the same case going to the status open. Okay, so in this way we can do certain operations on the case life cycle where it will have a different statuses. But whereas whenever you have a resolved status, this w-37 is no more considered to be displayed under the my cases, because there is no follow-up required on the resolved cases. So only it shows the active cases which are in the status open status or in the pending status. Apart from resolved status, whatever the status it has, it shows here. Okay, so only the statuses, only for the cases which has to be follow up, there should be a follow up required, only those cases appears under the my cases list. All right, so few other options that are there we'll discuss while we dig into the case management implementation. And here you see there is an option called reports, which is given for the manager. Okay, so basically, who are actors who are involved in Pega? So let's discuss about the actors. Okay, so basically, as the developers, we are the developers. So we are given certain user IDs and password. In general, we are considered to be the administrators. So given the user ID for administrators, so you will have a complete access for accessing the application development. Okay, so here we have developers can have it separately, or generally we call it as architects. Okay, so in Pega terminology, whoever does the development, they are called as architects. So basically this BPM application is going to be like a design and process. So as a design, you are the person who has to design it. You are the person who has to implement it. So the name generally people follow is architects. So the beginner level certification is also having certified system architects. So we are called as system architects. All right. So we are the persons who are the actual developers, and administrators are the persons, the individuals who are going to access the administration related activities. Okay, so the administration activities are performed by the administrators users, the users who are having the administrators access privileges. So they are going to do certain administration activities to the application. All right, and as a architects, we are the developers, and end users who are the ones who actually use the application. Okay, so let's say to create a case, to access the my work list, to access the my cases. So whatever the options which are given in this space, this is given for the end users. All right. So space consumed by the clients or customers. Okay, the space that is consumed by the clients or customers to use the application. Okay, so they are called as end users. All right, so end users will have access to the portal called end users portal, which is nothing but case manager portal or case worker portal. Okay, so these are the portals which are given for the end users. So whereas the developers given the access for designer studio portal or Pega Express. So these are the portals given for the architects. All right, and coming to the business users. So coming to the actors, basically in the BPM applications, we have business analysts as well. So their role is to see how my application, how my requirements are going into the system. Okay, so basically they should also, but as a business analyst, if you are trying, okay, so basically they should have a basic knowledge on Pega fundamentals. So basic knowledge on Pega rules, how they should be incorporated. So basically, business analyst role is to see how the requirements are going internally to the developers. At a high level, they will see how my business requirements are going, how whether I can configure these things or not. Okay, so some places maybe let's say the users who has to give the uh, let's based on the experience, the user has to decide how many interviews has to be performed, and this can be updated as well. Okay, so the level of interviews that has to be performed based on the experience, it changes. Okay, so but you have to code in such a way where you are not dependent on any of the hard coded values. Rather, you will provide certain configurability options to the business users so that they can update it. Okay, so those options are the one which business analysts will look into that. So business analysts will take care of, will look into it, whether your design that you are following, is it a configurable options are available, whether if I want to change or customize in future, whether this option is given for us or not. Okay, so that way business analysts can also look into the system where they can understand how the business requirements are going implemented. Okay, so basically they will also access the designer studio, and there is an option of case manager portals as well. So they will access both the business analyst because they need to know the requirements, how it is going into the system. Okay, so they just go towards the basic concepts of case management and the configurability. So they just look into these two things, case management and configurability. So if they are established properly or not, they just get some insight on the application, not at a deeper level, but at a high level. All right. So this is another actor who is going to engage in the Pega platform. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Managers. So basically, the end users who are there, who are actually using the application, so they may have a space. So they are having a reporting manager as well. So the users who are actually performing them, so they will may have a manager as well. So something goes wrong in managing the things. Let's say there are 10 recruiters under me. Okay, then all of those 10 recruiters are performing the job of recruiting a candidate. Unfortunately, something happened to a one recruiter. He is not coming to office. Okay, but whatever the recruitments those are held by him, he can only view it. So he may have a certain password which he remember it, but other than him, no one else know about his password. Then what happens? Whatever the cases which he has created it, whatever the cases which he process, which he is processing it, so none of them will have access. All the 9 recruiters won't have access, but manager can access that person's user IDs. Okay, so manager can visualize, manager have access to forcefully get those things out of his list. Okay, so out of his work list, so here they are going to they are going to get those lists, and he will do the assign to someone else, so some other recruiter he will give it. So that way manager is also one of the user who can drive the application if there is a certain circumstances happens. Okay, so manager can view the reports, can view the dashboard, can work on case manager to manage application. Okay, so to manage multiple applications or to manage application, he is going to use this different set of options provided. All right, so this is one more actor who is involved in the Pega platform. Clear? Any questions? Okay, so basic fundamental rule which is used is operator. So in order to log in, you will have a operator which you see on the top. The starting letter here it represents with the user ID which we logged in. So here administrator. So if you click on it, you will see certain options available. If you click on this operator, so in order to log into the system, you need a operator ID. And this operator ID is the one which we have to create it by going to the existing operators. So existing operators, you need to first log in with the existing operator ID which is working, and then only you can create your own operator. Okay, so here administrator at pega.com is the user ID. So this is basic rule form to which is responsible to log in. And here you will see there are different tabs provided, and every rule form will have its own different tabs. Okay, so we have a profile, work, security, history. So these are the tabs which are specific for this operator ID. Similarly, we'll have a different tabs for different rule forms. Okay, so based on the configurability options, these tabs are arranged. So here you see the options available like delete, actions, and save. So save is basically whatever the changes that you do here, you are going to do a save. And on click of actions, you will see additional actions as well. And delete is going to delete from the system. And here you will see certain prerequisite, it's a mandatory options. So here you see this is full name, which is a mandatory field. Okay, so here this has to be filled. Okay, so wherever you see the asterisk symbol, this is a required field. And some of the fields are having are given here in order to work. Say like in order to log into this administrator at pega.com, there is a mandatory rule form. There is another rule form called access group given here. So this access group is another rule form which is responsible to provide you the access to this application. So as then when you log in, how you are getting the access to the application Pega rules here, that is something which is defined in another rule form called access group. Okay, so in order to define one rule form, we may require multiple other rule forms given as an input as well. Okay, so here the access group is another rule form which is given in this operator ID. In order to provide access to an application, you need another rule form called access group. And here you see there is a double circle which is used to open that rule form in a new tab. So if you click on it, it opens in a new tab. So in this access group rule form, you will see the application and the version is specified here. Okay, so the users who are associated to the access group PRPC colon administrators, they have access to the application which is specified here. So if you see, the access group is always pointing to only one single application and a version. Okay, so we'll see the significance of version. So here the application which it has to point, the operator has to point, is something which is defined over here. Okay, and the portals that you see, available portals are the one by default which is selected is the one given to the user as and when he logs in. So as and when we are logging into the system with the user ID and password, you are getting the access to the developer portal. Okay, and this is the developer portal. The designer studio that you see, this is the developer portal. And the one which is not selected appears under the launch web interface. Okay, so if you can add multiple portals as well. So the one which are not selected, all of these will be displayed to us under the launch option. All right, so under the launch option, we can see the list of portals. And here you see there is something called as available roles. Okay, so each and every thing is again another rule form. You see wherever you see the double circle, it is another rule form again. Okay, so we just need to provide those inputs, those input rule forms to this in order to configure this access group. Okay, so how the on click of launch you are getting this space, right? So this is something which you will define under the developer portal or case manager portal. Okay, so it is just a referencing pointer where where you are going to start accessing the things. Okay, so in order to give the access to launch web interface this option, we are just giving a pointer here, but actually on click of it, whatever you see here, this content is something which is which is defined in the case manager rule form. There's a separate rule form again for each and everything. Okay, so here this is going to be is going to define what is the content which has to be displayed over there. Okay, similarly you have certain things called available roles in it. So available roles is basically the privileges, the accesses that we are going to give to a user who logs in. The every user, whoever logs in, they have certain roles provided. Okay, so let's say administrator logged in, so they have certain roles here. Similarly, a manager logs in, they will have a certain roles here. So basically, these roles are the one which restricts the user what needs to what is that he can access and what should not be accessed. Okay, so every user will have a different access groups. Okay, and each and every access group will have certain roles defined. So all the recruiters will have one access group, something like recruiters access group. Okay, similarly for all the managers you may have one access group. For all the interview panel members, they will have one access group. And all the technical manager approvals or all the technical managers will have one access group. Okay, so this kind of access groups will be defined with a set of roles accordingly. Okay, so that they can have a certain restriction for all the users who belongs to this access group. So that way we need to have a separate access groups defined for every user who interacts. Okay, so here the user can access multiple access groups as well. The user, the operator who is there, so here we can have an option to add multiple access group. Let's say the manager who is taking the interview, he can be the manager approval as well. So here he is doing two jobs. One is as a as the interview panel member, he is taking the interview. The second job is as a technical manager, he is doing the approval. So here he can access via two things. So here the person is having the access roles, access groups multiple. So here the access groups he is going to add here, so that his access to the same application but different privileges, but different roles available for each and every access group. Okay, so based on that restriction he can do the task or he can do the operation on that particular case life cycle. All right. So here we can add n number of access groups so that we can access to that application which is specified in that access group by switching back to the another access group as well. The one which is default selected is the one it is appearing as in when you log in here. The one which is not selected, you can switch to it on click of this application. You see the option of switch application here, where you can switch to the other application which is specified in the second access group. Okay, so this way you can switch to multiple applications and you can work simultaneously on two different applications. Yeah,
Um,
any questions?
yeah, what is rule form? I basically didn't understand. Um,
Rule form is basically a space where you configure the development. So this is basically everything that we do the development in Pega. It is in the rules itself. And just like we have another programming languages, we have certain text pads where you write down the code and all. But here in Pega, everything we deal in the form of a rule forms. So basically the operator. So in order to log in, you have this configuration given for this particular rule. Okay. So it's similarly for the access group. So you may have certain inputs given for it. So this is something we call it as a rule form. So where you need to provide the input to this so that it behave according to that.
how do
Okay,
you
so you
spell
need not,
rule
sorry,
form? How do you spell it?
rule form. Okay,
Okay,
I will write down here
okay.
rule forms. Okay, so basically rule is a logical compilation unit. Okay, so rule is a logical compilation unit. So everything that we define in order to do the development, we are having different type of rules. So we need to understand those rules. We need to configure those rules. So we just need to know where the configuration should be provided for every rule form. Okay, so this everything it is a rule based. So operator is one rule where it is responsible to log in. Access group given as an input for it, which gives us the access to the application as in when he logs in. Okay, so this application is given under the defined under the here. Okay, so this way we have a different set of configurability for every rule form. So if you see the difference between operator to that of access group, you have a different tab names given here. Okay, so you can see the list of operators who belongs to this access group. Okay, so as I said, if you have a recruiters access group, if you click on operators, so you can see the list of user IDs, the list of operators who belongs to the recruiters access group. Okay, so here you can see there are two users who belongs to the same access group. So these two users will have a same access to the system. They have the same privileges to access the system. Okay, clear? Any questions? Did you install the software?
No.
Um, no, I didn't share you, but the rest of the people, Pavan, other folks, Anshuman,